This conference will now be recorded.
Now we recorded. Okay. Okay, from now it's recorded already. Okay, everyone. Today our session regarding risk assessment and risk management. As we know, it is considered be as a major job for every safety professions. And most of the question regarding the blueprint on this area in the risk management and risk assessment. Our opportunity to try to find the solutions for all of the risk and try to prevent any accident can coming from this risk. Okay, so it is considered be as a main job or some important job for any safety profession duty. Okay, we'll start with some divisions. Okay, what is the meaning of risk? What is the risk? Risk considered be as a chance or a probability of occurrence, okay, of injury, loss, or hazard, or potential of hazards, okay, or we can say it by another identifications. It is combinations by the probability that the adverse event will occur with the consequences or severity of this adverse event. Okay, so it is combination by likelihood and severity. Like everyone already know what is identification of the risk. What is the risk assessment? Risk assessment is the process of assessing risk associated with each identificational hazard. Okay, so we should have at first identificational hazard. So we'll assess the risk with each identificational hazard in order to give decisions and important appropriate control measure to prevent the hazard from occurring. Okay, so it is considered playing in the three dimension: identification of the hazards and assessing the risk and find the control measure. Okay, the hazard, any conditions or potentials to cause injury or illness or death or personal damage or material degradations or any property damage. Okay, any event nobody wants to be occur. Hazard identification is the procedure to examine every or each work area or every step of the work to identify the hazard associated with each job or task. Probability, it is means the likelihood that given event will occur. So what is the degree of the event, or what is the probable the event will occur? That's what we call it the probability. Severity is the degree of undesired consequences. Okay, after the hazard happen or after the event happen, what is the consequences? What is the degree of these consequences? Okay, so for risk management process, okay, will play in two phases. First phase called assessment, which have 2 points. Sorry, because I have to use this. Okay, two phase: assessment phase and the management phase. Okay, assessment phase contain hazard identification and assessment of the hazard, and the management, he controls the develop, okay, and decision make. Control develops and the decision make, implement the control. After you develop the control, you have to implement it, and after that, supervision and the evaluations. Okay, that is called the management phase. So all of this part should be based on the decision of the management, but this part, assessment, should be shareable with all, especially hazard identifications, and find solution for the hazard or assessment of the hazard. Okay. Okay, for hazard identifications, it should be identified. Okay, as we said, the hazard identification should be identificate the hazard before there is a first step to identify the hazard before to go to anything. So I will assist what it costs me the hazard. Okay, so I have to give initial analysis, or I have to give some analysis through what? Through the experience. Okay, experience of the worker. So that means everyone should be on the table of identification hazard. Okay, so through what again? Historical data. So I have to search with the history of accident, incident, all of the event. Okay, so I will identify the hazard. Intuitive analysis, judgment, standards, brainstorming, and there is very important this one. Brainstorming, that means everyone should be sitting the table, okay, while we are doing this hazard identifications. And we have to make interview with everyone to identify the hazards. Okay. As we said before, the hazard identifications. So for this process, it will not only standing at the beginning, it will also continue with us. So it will continue with us, and we can repeat it so many times through the work period. Okay, and the specific methods for hazard identification will change from the site to the site. Okay, so as we mentioned before in the last session, if you remember, we present or represent so many hazard identification methods like failure module and analysis effect, hazard, so many methods. I think I'll not remember the all, but we did so many methods for incident investigation, and we said before we can use it for hazard identifications. So it can be variations, and the forms also can be variety from place to place, but it should be included some basic items. Like what? Identifications, a specific work. Of course, I need to identify the work. Review the previous documentations, okay, involve the operation, and it determines barrier injury or accident. As we said, we have the historical data from accident, incident, and the operational history. Okay, conduct on site. Okay, that means we have to make site observations, and of course, for every place we need to make site observation, and determine the individual job task of individuals. Okay, we have to determine everyone what is his job. If we have some scope of the work, like we are doing sometimes a method of statement for any client, or sometime for our job, or sometime reviewing the method of statement for some contractors, you will find that every is a scope of work at first, and after that he makes some methodology. He will give details for every step of the work. Okay, and break this individual job task into steps. Okay, like I will give some job, like for example, as I said before, changing the light. Okay, it have steps. I have to using a ladder, I have to reach, I have to get some handy tools. There is everything considered be as a steps. And the analysis job task and identifies the hazard or potential hazard involving in this performing task. So I will get what is the hazard associated with every step of the work. Okay, and the most important part, as we said, involving the worker whom performing this the actual work. Okay, someone in the site and someone who will perform the work, he have to say what is his fears, what is his problem. Okay, this of course will help us to get some hazard identification. After that, we said after we make some high identification for the hazard, we will assess the hazard. Okay, how to assess the hazard? We need to get real or something reality for assessing this hazard, and give real evaluation for this hazard. Okay, of course, to identify some proper control measure and identify how this hazard considered be very danger, will stop the work, we need to ignore it or not. Okay, so we need to identify to assess this hazard and give leveling for this hazard. For assessing the hazard, we have two important points. Okay, probability, okay, or likelihood, and severity, as we mentioned before. Okay, so for this likelihood, for this probability, okay, we have to estimate the probability given for each job. Okay, for each job, what is the probable of having event? The event is probable to happen or not. Okay, and there is degree for that. Okay, there is 5 level of the probability. Okay, so frequent, it means occurring often or very often, and consider B happen one time for every 500 events, for every 500 exposures. So through 500 exposure, you can expect one event will happen. So there is a frequent, and there is the highest level of probability. Likely occur several times or common occurrence. Okay, and you can expect one time occurrence for 1000 exposures. Okay, so it is less than the frequent and coming at the second highest level. Okay, and after that we have occasionals. Occasional occur randomly, يعني not uncommons, it is uncommons, not commons, but coming some randomly, and you may not complete. Sometimes you can complete the job, and this one will not happen. So it is less than frequent and less than likely. And after that, seldom, remotely possible. You can consider it is not happen. And to be happen, you have to several things should be happen and several wrongs should be happen. So many faults should be happen to reach to these items. Okay, seldoms. And unlikely, you can say this will not occur. Okay, so there is a 5 degree of the probability. Severity. Okay, severity is the degree of the exposures or the degree of deteriorations of the accident. How this or the consequences? How these consequences will happen? Okay, and of course also it is classified into also 4 important degree. Okay, catastrophics mean some this will happen, permanent to total this disability or completely project failures, so it is very huge event. Okay, and sometime some unexpected damage. Okay, for probability damage, it can be stop the work also. So sometimes they are giving also for this one degree by money. Some people also, for example, in Ruger book, he give some valued money for each step. Okay, but here in this book will not. It is not found like that. As we said, he give just like this or permanent total disability or complete project failures or big loss and several environmental damage or unaccepted collector damage. Critical. He said also permanent. Okay, the degree after the catastrophics. Okay, permanent partial disability. Okay, so not full disability or temporary total display. Okay, temporary, not when he say total display, so this worker will not work for some time, not all the time. Okay, like catastrophics. Okay, and extension measure damage of equipment, some equipment. Okay, not big loss, so that means the project also will not stop in this one. Okay, some significant property damage, okay, or environmental damage, and significant collector damage. Okay, marginal loss workday injury. That there is a common when we say most of the reported accident coming in this area. Lost workday injury or illness, degraded project capability, some just not all capability of the project, some capability of the project, minor damage, okay, the minor damage of environmentals and equipment. So it is not big loss. Negligible, there is a level which you want every severity to reach, or every risk to reach in this level. Negligible, like just like some, if it happen, okay, after I taking all of the control measure, it will be need only some first aid, minor medical treatment, little some simple property damage or something like that. So it is in the lowest degree. So when we are going to make a risk, okay, of course it will be a combination between severity, okay, and probability. And the matrix ranking system will be like that. Extremely high risk. So in this case, everything should be stopped to find a solution for that. High risk, okay. Also, this need very important solution, and of course need interfering of the line of the management. Moderate risk, sometime accepted as per the tolerance, and low risk mean can be neglected. Okay, and when we make matrix, it will be like that. So I will put severity here in the vertical lines, catastrophic, critical, marginal, okay, and negligibles. And here the probability in the horizontal line, frequent, likely, occasionals, seldoms, unlikely. And the combination with everyone will give me the degree. Okay, so frequent with catastrophics, okay, it is very high, extremely high risk, okay, and likely with catastrophics also extremely high. Critical with frequent, extremely high also. So there is a combination between, you can give rating numbers for everyone and making duplications for every leveling with every leveling of severity and with every leveling of probability. But there is no standard for that. What does that mean? Well, that means there is no standard. It can be based on quantitative rather than qualitative. But how to make it very close and very near to each other's? Okay, we have to make it as we can to make quantitative. How we make quantitative? Okay, just we give some numbers value for everyone. Okay, for example, frequent. Okay, we give it, for example, the highest number like 5. Likely we can give it 4 and 3, 2, 1, like that. Okay, and sometime we interfering some side effect will affect the probability or severity. For example, for probability, okay, degree of the exposures, I can put some degree for the exposure. How many time I can expose to this hazard? For example, I have to expose 3 times per day, okay, or 5 times per day, okay. So in this case, I will put it as a frequent. If I said 3 times only per day, I will put it as a likely, okay. Like that, I can put some standard to help me to change the probability into quantitative rather than qualitative. Okay, the same for severity. Okay, catastrophics, critical, depending. Sometime I will put measures like how many persons exposed to this hazard. For severity, for example, I will not consider any catastrophic until we said the exposure for the hazard around 5 persons. Okay, so in this case I will consider it as catastrophics. Critical should be not less than 4 persons. Like that, I can transfer this value into quantitatives. Okay, so we'll go for some examples. We have scenario like company called XYZ, and this company have some project, industrial cleaning service, which involve high pressure water jetting of tube bundles within condenser. Okay, the process of course will involve mobilization, project setup, performance of high pressures water jetting, project cleanup, and demobilizations. We will look at some major hazards associated with this project, illustrations, and proposals. The first step in this risk management of the process to identify the hazard. Okay, for example, he gives some, he of course will not break down all of the project or all of the scope of the work. He gave only identified some hazard, and even he didn't mention the area of the hazard or the scope of the work which created the hazard. Back strain from the manual lifting during loading and unloading of the vehicles. Okay, here this area considered be for the mobilizations. So he mentioned for this, he considered this as a frequent. Okay, frequent because maybe I'm not mention about everyone having this standard. It happened or the hazard exposures happen several times. Okay, so he put it as a frequent, and the consequences he put as marginal. Okay, he considers this accident, what will happen from this accident if it happen, as you say, backstrain manual lifting, so it is ergonomic hazard. Okay, it will not give fatality or full disability or something like that, or even if material which is handled fall down and broken, it will not consider a big cost. And in the same time, not big worker or not number of the number of the worker working in this area not big, so he put it as a mergers. But when he duplicated with each other, the rating considered be high. And as you see, there is another eye injury from flying debris, injury from rolling vehicles. Eyes injury from flying debris consider be as extremely high, frequent, and criticals. Okay, so what we should do with this one, we should look or rearrange everything again as per the critical hazard. Okay, so we give some priority for controlling the hazard as per most of the people working in the ISO 45001. When you are making the new risk assessment for this one, you have to make risk for opportunities which have the highest level of the risk. Okay, so this one need to come at the first to control it by the management. In this case, when we say something like that, all of the management have to stop everything to eliminate or decrease this level of the risk. Okay, so in this case, after we find something like that extremely high and high, we have to move to control and give decision. Okay, and give decision on this hazard, on this risk, how to control it. Okay, so from this time we will transfer from assessment phase to the management phase. Okay, control of the develop control develop and decision making. Okay, so this control will be considered by the line of the management and the supervision to reduce the level of the risk. Okay, and reduce the risk of the hazardous incident. Okay, if something happen, of course I need to our laws, if it happen, to be reduced also. Okay, and this type of control depending on what is the type of controls which I will take it. We have here in the DVD, it's classified into 3 type of control. Educational control, this control based on some knowledge, okay, and some skills of the employees individuals. Effective control is implemented through the individual and the collective training that ensure performance of the standards. So there is depend on the human resource. So the educational control very depend on the human resource about the individual. So it is when I wanted to apply this control, I need a trained people and the educational people and evaluate or increase the training or the awarenesses of these people. Okay, physical control. This control may be take from barriers or guards or signs, okay, or aware employees, and this not needed for some educational part or high level of training or something like that, but need some supervisions. Okay, okay, and this is supervision depending on the specific hazard fall into this category. And avoidance. The control apply when supervisor and the manager take the positive action to prevent content or exposure with the identified hazard. So that means I have to stop the work. And this decision always coming from the line of the management or at least the supervisions. So there is depend on decision, some decision making, and very strict decisions. I will stop the work right now, or this task I will not take it. Okay, that mean eliminations for some time when we are talking about. And some criteria also for control. Okay, when we say criteria to be effective, okay, control must meet the following criteria. Okay, when I choose a control should be support available and adequate personnel. Okay, so it means that this control, okay, meet with my resource. I should have adequate personnel and adequate equipment and adequate supplier for this control. Sometimes I put some control measure and I don't have any enough resource for this control measures. Okay, sometimes I'm requesting something not found, not only in my warehouse, not found in the market. Okay, so this in this time, this control we cannot say it is support, and should meet with the standards, guideline, and procedure implementing of controls. Sometimes we have contractor standard, contract standards, the place standard, or the legal requirement standard, or our police standards. Anybody have questions? I see somebody access. Okay. So also this control based on some knowledge and skills for adequate implementation of the controls. For examples, I am going to the confined space, okay, and I have so many control measures, like using SCAPA, for example, self-contaminated bracing appliance. So how can we use it without any training? Okay, so I need some training for the rescue team to use these appliances. Okay, leadership, supervision, and management are competent to implement the control. Okay, who will implement the control, labor or the supervision? Of course, this labor needs supervision, or this worker needs supervision and the management. Okay, and the manager should take the proper decision at first before transfer this this job or this task to the workers. Individual. Every individual employees are sufficient or self-disciplined to implementing the control measures. So I am giving work to some people able to do this work. Okay. So sometimes when you want to implement the control measures, you have few numbers of syllables and give limited time or giving during bad time. So you need to barricade this area during 1 hours only, and you have limited people. Okay, how they will do this? Okay, so it is not sufficient with this number of the workers. So I have to study this issue before or taken into account before issue or give final decision
So,
for the controls.
Mohammed, it is not a question, but I want to know about that, about the support. Support here, the means that the management commitment for the available for facilitating the necessary resources required for the control of the hazard.
Yes, actually, sorry, I will say it again. If we see the should be this one coming at first for me. When you see these standards, I have already manual operationals in my place based on the contract or based on my policy on guidance or based on sometimes a legal requirement. And all of this requirement, of course, need some resource, and the management should allocate this resource. But sometimes when I see sometime review some risk assessment, I see just because it is written by one person, he writes so many control measures, of course not found. I need like that, like that, like that. Of course, who will provide this? You just give me something good to give approvals, and you will not implement it, or it cannot be implemented. So this support should be support of the management from the beginning based on the standard or the guidance, which I have it already based on contract or based on the company policy or based on the legal requirements. Okay, and after that, when allocate all of the resource based on this one, our decision, okay, should be limited to this resource, not existing this resource. So I already have some resource. Okay, when I take decisions, this decision should be not highest this resource. So that we mean by support. It's clear for you?
Yeah.
Hello?
Very clear.
Okay. Here are some examples for controls, for control measures. Engineering, okay, and designing to eliminations or control the hazard. Of course, most of us know about the hierarchy of control measures. Okay, here in this book, or in David Yates, he didn't classify it, this control measure as per most of us know it is, should be elimination, substitutions, engineering, okay, and admissions controls and BBE and signboard. We know all of this, but so many classification for the control measures. Okay, and also in when some of you reading also span, he will say some risk avoidance, some risk transfer, risk retention, risk reductions. Okay, so the main classification which we know as elimination, substitution, like that, it is not standardized, and also it can be different from the place to place. And as you see here, when I said 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not mean it is hierarchy. It is some examples only for control measures, like as we say, engineering, avoidance, limited number of the personals, okay, providing BBE. That's not met with any hierarchy. Just give some example. And as I say, the hierarchy of control or risk control is very wide. And it can be different from the place to place. But I recommend it to know about what we know before, elimination, substitutions, engineering control measures, and admission control, DB and signboard. And also there is some control it will face you when you are study span, okay, like risk avoidance, okay, it is equal to the eliminations. Risk transfer, we have to type for this risk transfer. Sometime we are given to some subcontractor, so we will transfer the responsibility of the risk, okay, to another contractor. Like when you are working as a client, or you have some project, okay, when you are writing the contract with the subcontractor who will constructing this project, you will give transfer all of the risk or all of the responsibility to him. You are responsible for 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, okay, and give full responsibility of the safety on him. And your roles in this time will only monitoring and admissions, not admission, only monitoring this subcontractor while he doing his job. But you will not be responsible for any task or any event will happen created by his work, okay. And sometimes you are contractor and you are performing very high risky task, okay, but you are not professional enough in this one, so you will hire subcontractor under you to take this task and be responsible for the any risk created by this task, okay. That's the first step for risk transfer, okay. Risk transfer also can be insurance. Of course, we have when I make some insurance, of course, I'm looking only when for this risk. I will take also all of the task by myself, but I expected some loss will happen from this task, or expected risk will not be controlled. So what is the cost of this risk? Okay, so I will give some insurance to return this cost again. Okay, so this type of risk transfer, sometimes risk transfer as incident preventions, okay, allocate safety manager, allocate safety officer on my side. So all of this type called be risk transfers. And sometimes we make risk reductions. As we said, all of this, what you said now, could be risk reductions, okay, or risk retentions, okay. When you are doing some job or something like that, when you are implementing some control measures like engineering control, avoidance, and proactive control, it will be considered as a risk retentions. But when some laws happen, okay, or some taking some precautions also will taken as an emergency controls, okay, I will make as a risk reduction. So risk will happen, but will not be very high levels. So I will take it some steps like emergency door, sprinklers, like that. All of this called as a risk reductions. So as I said before, there is have or risk control measures consider be very high weights for classification. We know some of them, most of them we don't know, okay. But as I said, it is a limitation for the exam to come as a risk avoidance, risk transfer, risk retention, risk reduction, or coming as we know as elimination, substitutions, and engineering control, admissions control, and DBE. So I advise all to remember what you are remember already from most of you taking NIDOSH or taking IOSH as a classification of control measure. In addition, remember what found in most of the question you will face in span or bucket about the type of control the risk. Okay.
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Yes. As you said earlier that these are the examples because if we see the number four as per the hierarchy of control, number four should become at number five, and number five should come at number four as per the hierarchy of control. So, as you mentioned earlier that these are the control measures examples, and it's very place to place.
Yes, it is only examples, not hierarchy or not standardized, as we said. He didn't mention here any type of hierarchy of control measures in this book actually.
Okay.
Okay, but he mentioned here he didn't try. Why he didn't try to mention hierarchy or of control measures? Because he mentioned here in this book the risk control measures consider B as a choosables. I choose the proper control measures, okay, and which come at the first and after that come at the second, okay, depending in the situations of my company and depending in situations of the risk, okay. And the most important for him to transfer the risk from the high level onto very low levels, okay. And he gives some examples for the same examples for the same store scenario. Backstream from manual lifting during loading and uploading. He put at first the what is this? The admission control measures. Okay, toolbox meeting, body systems. Okay, loading and as you see, he said body system. He put some engineering after the admission control. So put admission control at first and after that the engineering control at first. Why making like that? At first he didn't give or he didn't arrest himself on any hierarchy for control measures. And for Yates he advised also to not arrest ourselves in any hierarchy for control measure. Which is proper to come at the first, put it him at first. Which is proper to come at the second, put it as a second. Okay. So, and sometimes, and most of the time, we are doing like that actually. In the reality, we are doing the same. Okay, but we are not, while we are filing or documented, we are not documented. We are documented as per standards. But when we apply it, we are doing the same. We give the opportunity at first for identify the hazard and after and the information for the work, and after that we give after that for engineering control or BBE or however we will do it. Okay, and he used material handling equipment. Look, yani at first he put some admission control and after that he lists some engineering control measures. That means he is not mention or he is not working or working with any hierarchy of control measures. Just what is very important for him to transfer the risk into the low rate. Okay, in reliable standard, not only in the written standard or planning in reliable standard. This standard should be in reality. So I wanted to apply the toolbox meeting and I wanted to apply using some material handling equipment. But what should be coming at the first? Can I put the material handling before the toolbox meeting? As per our category of hierarchy of control measure, yes, it should be. But when we said we have to use our intelligent and looking to the more in reality, no. Actually, toolbox meeting should come at the first. So in this case, I will not arrest myself in any hierarchy of control measures. Okay? It is clear for all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. After that, how to implement these control measures? Okay. After first of thing, we have to take decisions. We have to take decisions. Okay. How to make this decision? Okay. The key element of decision determining justified supervisors and manager responsible for the project must compare the balance of the risk against the benefit. Okay, what is the benefit? I can accept this risk or not. It coming for me in the tolerance area or not. Okay, so in this case, if it is not so, I have to put some control measures. And after I put the control measures, the risk come or the risk remaining, the residual risk is very too high or not. So in case of this, it is too high, I have to make some decision. And this decision should be one of the following. additional add additional control measure for further reduce. So I will make again some additional control measure and again some assessing for the residual risk and put some control measures. Limit the scope of the work. I will reduce the scope of the work of the beginning. Okay, so that means I will reduce the level of the risk from the beginning before I going for the control measures. Okay, and sometime I can eliminate this risk, and sometime you can take decision as we said before to stop this area or to eliminate or to avoid this area. So this very high standard of the level of the decision making. I will avoid to take some project. This project, for example, I am working as an electrical subcontractor, as an electrical contractor, and I get contract which most of the work in very high level, in very working at height, high rising building, and most of the work without any edge protection, and I have to allocate some very high protection for my worker. Some company will say no, will not take this project. It's very high risky for us, and there is very good decisions. Even sometimes company need project or need something like that, but he take this decision. Why? Because he cannot control the risk, and maybe if the loss will be more than what he will get from this project. Okay, so it is based on decision making. Manager also very important for controls. Manager and supervisor should be ensure that all of control are integrated into a standard of operational procedures. So when I taking some control measures, so I will give some operational procedures to take it. So while you are doing these procedures, you cannot put only everything regarding the safety only. So you need to put safety with the step of the work. So you have step like that. Okay, you will fixing some door. Okay, first of all, take the permit. Use your hand gloves and get the door from the store. Check his quality and fix the door. And be careful for manual handling. Obey with this. Look, that means I will insert the control measure into the step of the work. Okay, written and verbal instructions. So it should be written as we said, and it should be verbal instructions. So briefing starting or pre-starting work while between the supervisor and between the worker should be these mentions. It is not only the job of the safety officers. Okay, sometimes supervisor said no, it is safety job. There is nothing called safety job. It is always called safe job. Safe job, not safety job. Safe job mean your job should be safely. But when you say safety job, you are neglected or you are isolating yourself from any task related to safety. And there is not a proper way to put the control measures. Okay, toolbox meeting period, the beginning of the project, and the best way between the supervisor again with the workers. Okay, there is toolbox meeting always conducting by safety supervisor or safety officer with whole of the project, but grouping toolbox meeting, it should be between the supervisor and between the worker. It is not accepted for the worker to get the directions from two ways, from the supervisors and from the safety officer. Okay, critical check for this step. There is the work of the safety officer. Okay, to ensure that all of the control into the clear and simple instructions understand it. Okay, did you give to your worker instruction, supervisor? Yes. Okay, you can ask the worker. There is a work in this time. This part, the work of the safety officer. But this part, actually it is not work of the safety officer. And if you want to implement it in proper way, it should not be the work of the safety officer. Okay, implement the control, including the coordination and communication. There is the work of the labor, of the workers. Implementation. Because I see sometimes in the job site, safety officer have some labor and doing everything. And you can see the job site is like hospital. Really, very clean and very tidy. And when you are investigating one very great accident, and you asking why you didn't put this barricade, he said it is not my job. There is a job of safety officer. So like that, it's not working. Should be working like a grouping, starting from the management into the workers, including the safety officer. Supervisor and evaluate. Okay, there is the last step of the managing phase. Okay, during the project, okay, or task preparation, manager and the supervisor must ensure that employees understand how to execute the risk controls. I have to make sure that all of the employees already know how to control the risk or how to take the task for controlling the risk, okay, and how to use all of the control measure requirement, appliances, permit, anything, PPE. They should know how to use all of this. Continually assess, as we said before, we have to reassess the risk during the operational. Why? We already observe or something coming to us during operationals or during operational, we can observe it. New things we need to be assessed. So we're not standing, we said, no, this hazard not including in my plan risk assessment, so I will not look at. No, we should make reassess again for this hazard. Some methods, here is the plan. Some methods for supervisor to and evaluate the effectiveness of control measures. So need some checklist, daily report, inspection, or something like that. Direct supervisions. You have to check the people from time to time, and some people should watching the workers for the high risky step. Okay, because sometimes I see one supervisor in the site, okay, and no foreman, no anything, and the labor in everywhere, and no any direct supervision. So that means he should be working as a superintendent and assigned supervisor and assigned foreman after him. And after the project or task had been completed, is recommended to post project evaluation, which including all of employees and the project and the conducting, and the result of this post project evaluation and any change should be maintained in the project profit. Why I have to use this? There is a historical data. So after I finish, I can create some historical data for any coming project for me with the same task. Okay, I will record it. Is this all of this control measure working or not? Okay, how many accidents happen during this risk step or this risky task? Okay, how many employees working? How many injury? How many violations? Okay, what is the cost? All of this, I will take this history, and when I get new project and make safety cost estimations, everything appear to me. Okay, and when I make risk assessment, all of the risk already I'm familiar, so I get good experience in this. Okay, so I think it is finished already. I know it is very little chapters, but very important chapter for all, because as I say, it is very good place for area for exams. So any questions? Hello? Looking like all of the people gone or what?
Oh, yes, we are here. Mohammed, you know earlier that we in some of the lecture we discussed about the residual risk. So
Uh,
in today we have not touched it. So please something about that. Elaborate it something.
residual
Residual.
risk, as I said before, and I am always saying, David Yates you cannot depend on the David Yates alone, as I said before, and sometimes you need to read from Rogers, and especially from the explanations of the answer of the question in his ban or in buckets. Okay. Residual risk, as you said, as we mentioned before, it is a risk remaining after I take all of the control measures. Okay, so I have some risk. It is considered me as a residual risk. This risk should be leveled. Okay, if we see here, sorry. Okay. Just consider, okay, after I taking all of these control measures, I should have some risk. I have some risk. Okay, it will not mention here. I will take, okay, the evaluation for the risk from the beginning again. So I will check this risk after I taking all of these control measures. Okay.
Yes.
This risk, after I taking this control measure, I will evaluate the risk again with probability and the consequences. Okay. And the result is come, it is risk rating, okay, and then is considered be as a residual risk. Sometime it coming as a moderates. No, my standard said it should be low. Okay, so for this moderate, if it is not matching with my tolerance or with my standards, need additional control measure to reach it into low. So this risk after control measures consider be as a residual risk. Okay, and we have to give him rating, and this rating sometime accepted and sometime not accepted, and when it's not accepted, I have to do what? As we said, we have to make additional control measures, or we have to limit it our scope, or we have to make some decision making. So we cannot control this risk, so I will not take this step of the job, or I will not take this job. Okay.
Okay.
So any other questions? So anybody wanted to add something for these sessions? Another also I wanted to say it, if we have time. خالد اقفل الباب يا خالد. Here, we mentioned before, sorry, as I said before, when we make ratings for probability or consequences, you have to consider, you have to make it as you can quantitative rather than qualitative. You just not saying this risk is high, this severity is high, medium, like that. No, it should be the qualitative, quantitative standard. Like here in Roger, he put some good examples. For this William Fine, you have some theory to put quantitative for the risk. William Fine considers as risk should be duplicative of consequences, rating value, and exposures value, and the probability value. Okay, he have some probability. Okay, and this probability should be duplicated by exposures value, how many times you will export, and consequences value, and they make it like this. Okay, there is the likelihood, there is the exposures. Okay, and he put of course a timeline and the probable consequences, and after that there is comment as a degree, so he can put it as a numbers, and this number based on some standards. Okay, and sometimes consequences, it is not only based on sometime the fatals like that, it should be transferred into money, sometime how much it will lose, catastrophic, how much likely, how much like that, how much everything have limited for money. So in this time he can transfer or put the loss or expected risk or the evaluation of the risk into money. So in this case, you can take the attention of the top management because you are showing some losing, some financial losing. Okay. Another theories also, he said, as you said, consequences, he bought some rating, exposures, he bought some rating, and the probability, some rating, and catastrophics, as he mentions, he bought some rating for catastrophics. Everything he rated, okay, to can reach to the good result or the good quantity result of the risk level or risk ranking. Okay, some very important, but I didn't see in the exam, but it's very good. Logical process risk analysis from Rank and Morgan, also found in the Ruger. What I am showing now, it is a Ruger book. Okay, he makes some steps, computing the index of each department. Of course, he determines the task into department, and every department, okay, he have risk index and determining the relevant risk of each department and computing the percentage of the risk index for each department. Then determine the composite exposures dollars for each department, computing the composite risk for each department, ranking at the end. He making like that. Okay, for example, he have some area, and this area have expected risk like fires, large interval for flammable general distribution, everything have ranking. Okay, and in this case you will take the number, okay, from everyone and collect it to get some risk leveling or risk ranking. Okay, and the same thing is for the control measures also. Okay, here also he put the control measure as a ranking. Fire protection, he put number for every step. Which step you will take it? Okay, and should be the difference between control measures and risk index should be or control measure should be higher than the risk index. Okay, why? To make sure it is already controlled, and if it is minus, already it is not controlled. So there is so many types of quantitative measures of risk ranking. As we say, most of them, I didn't see anything like that coming in the exam, and he already transferred onto money also. But maybe for more understanding the quantitative procedures, you can use something like that. Or also, you can use, as we mentioned before, if you remember, the fault tree analysis. And that's what I see in most of the question in the exam. Okay, when you are study the risk, or you make some quantitative to the risk, you are based on you are making by some something like fault tree analysis. For example, you are taking sometimes when I say you already have the span. For example, he has the top event as a fire. From where is fire coming? Fire coming from combination between the oxygen and the flammable material and the spark. So I have to make combinations between, not or, yani no combination between all of them should be summation all of this. So I will give every one of this ranking. Okay, and after that I will give this ranking as I will duplicate it, or I will duplicate it all of them. But if I use or, if you remember the symbol of the fault tree analysis, I will try to show you something like that. Also, it is very important and comes in the exam always. Here, if I see this example in the Nebuch diploma, here, as you see here, for these examples, okay, sometime as we see, all of the ranking here or all of the valued here should be duplicated. Why duplicated? Because I use this as an end. This mark called end and this mark called or. Okay. In case of or, you have two submissions. In case of and, you have to duplicate it. And I am sure this question I see in the spans. This type of extract the probability of the accident. But what about severity? How to can extract? Here in the fault tree analysis, you are starting by the event, and after that, you will get the root cause of the event. But there is another something called event tree analysis, something like that. What is going on? What is the wrong will happen? Like that. Yes or no, main or. Okay. Also, I have two submissions. But when you take, there is the event, and what will happen from the event coming like that? Fire alarm will work, sprinkler, limited damage like that. So I have, if it is yes or no, main it is or. So I have to make submission for all of this. But this will yes, mean all of this will happen. So I have to duplicate it, all of that. Okay. So I have here result by yes or no. I have to make submissions, and here also I have to make submission, and the result of here and the result of here should be submitted also. And here also I have value for this this severity, and here I should also make submission. Like this, I will extract the severity, and from the fault tree analysis, I will get the probability. Duplicated with each other, I will get the risk ranking. Okay, so maybe because the information found in different book, I didn't try to get it. But I'm sure in found in the Rogers you can understanding. Okay, but I didn't see anything found in the Roger coming in the exam. But these examples always coming in the exams. What I show you found in the Nebuch diploma, or you will face it in span or buckets, always I see in the exam questions. This clear for all? Maybe I'm sorry, maybe I cannot explain good because I don't have the one resource for me or one material for me. I'm taking from different place.
Yes, yes, it is clear, and it is nice to show all the things like the safety engineering book and then the reference from the Bosch diploma book. So it's good to clear the concept.
Yeah, and actually when you answer, you will face some questions like that. I see this question coming in the previous, not only in the workbook, in the previous exam. Previous exams have some questions like that. So I think it is clear to remember it is like this. Okay, he always used something like fault tree analysis. He didn't use the theories in the Roger book, but it is not bad to understand this theories book, theories in the Roger book for you, because actually even me, I'm using right now this theories and make some estimation for project or for risk in the project and some estimation for safety cost. So it is very benefit for you, even it is not for the exam. For your or for all of you, it is very good to use it or to understand what found in the Ruger book.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Anybody wanted to add something from his side? Not only question, some information. Maybe I miss it. He wanted to add it. So it is clear for you? We can go or what?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So I say good night, and I am sorry, maybe I'm not good explanations, good teach, good
Uh,
trainers,
uh,
like all of
Mr.
you.
Mr. Muhammad, you explain it very well. I have this Roger book in front of me, and I saw you added some extra thing, which is very good to give more
Thank you.
detail to this section. Really, that was very informative.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, really. Or very, you really motivate me by this word. Thank you. Okay, thank you all, and good luck for you. And as I say, just you need to read again after these sessions. Just read what you found in the Yates quickly. And as I said, I prefer to read the Rogers and Nebuch Diplom for this part. The element number 4 and the element number 5 and the element number 6 in the unit A. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, that's very good.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Asghar bhai.
Yes, sir. You are quiet today.
I was actually quiet and unluckily I couldn't concentrate on presentation today. I was actually listening, but my some family members they came here and I was actually engaged with them. So half mind was towards presentation and half towards them. Now actually they have left. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay. ठीक है सर भाई ओके गुड नाइट इंशाल्लाह सो टुमारो it's Wednesday so I think you are coming tomorrow for nice
Yeah, inshallah. I will come with the nice and I will try to prepare because this chapter is not very big chapter. So I will try to make, if I get some time, I will make some question answer session related to this chapter only.
very nice Asghar
Yeah.
bhai, very nice inshallah see you tomorrow today actually really I couldn't concentrate but I will watch the video I think they haven't yet updated the last video I think so
Yeah. I think not updated.
yeah yeah I think they haven't okay let's see
Yeah,
okay no problem
I really want that video which you presented last week for this fire safety. It is.
Yeah, yeah, because I know about this issue. Actually, they had sent me one message regarding I have to complete because this was actually my mistake. I didn't ask for the recording. No problem. Inshallah, soon. What I have to do, I have one planning here in home. I will, make a complete lecture. Okay, complete lecture. No person will be there, but solely I will make a complete lecture. Okay, and then I will share with them, and then they will share with the group. So this is the only solution. I think they had already recorded the half. I don't know why they are not going to upload the half one. Maybe they just want to make a single or no problem. Inshallah, soon, very soon, I'm just going to work on that thing and I will share that. Yeah, inshallah. Thank you, sir. Bye. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.